You mistake silence for weakness. Predators know it's concealment. While you confess and perform, power watches, waits, and cuts, choosing who survives when noise exposes you. Silence has been sold to you as virtue, as politeness, as restraint for the weak who lack courage. That framing is deliberate and fatal. In every competitive environment, moral labels are assigned by those already in control. They teach you that speaking up is honesty, visibility is strength, expression is authenticity. What they never say is that exposure is vulnerability, and noise is a signal flare. Silence is not emptiness, it is compression. In war, the most dangerous unit is not the loud advance, it's the hidden one you never saw reposition. In surgery, the most decisive movement is not the dramatic cut, but the stillness before it, when the surgeon studies, measures, and decides where damage will be irreversible. Silence functions the same way in human systems. It buys time, it preserves optionality. It denies others information they need to predict you. The first deception to destroy is the idea that silence means you are inactive. In reality, silence is the posture of someone who is gathering data while others are bleeding it. Every word you release reveals intent, values, fears, ambitions. People think they are being real. What they are doing is handing over their operating manual. Power does not announce itself, it calibrates. Those who speak constantly are easy to map. Their emotions leak, their priorities surface, their contradictions expose them. Silence interrupts this extraction. When you say less, others speak more. When you withhold reaction, others overcorrect. They fill the vacuum with assumptions, confessions, and tells. Silence turns the other side into the loud one, and the loud one is always at a disadvantage. Modern culture trains you to fear this vacuum. If you don't explain yourself, you're told you're suspicious. If you don't respond immediately, you're accused of weakness or avoidance. This pressure is intentional. Systems that rely on compliance require constant disclosure. Silence disrupts that flow. It introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty is intolerable to those who want control. Understand this clearly. Morality is often just strategy wearing clean clothes. Silence has always been the tool of selection. The predator does not narrate its hunt. The judge does not reveal deliberation mid-trial. The ruler does not debate with the crowd. They observe, they weigh, they decide. Speech comes after power has already moved, if it comes at all. What makes silence sharp is not the absence of words, but the presence of intent. It is chosen, not imposed. Passive silence is avoidance. Strategic silence is positioning. One leaks fear, the other generates it. When you do not reveal your next move, others are forced to imagine it, and imagination is more destabilizing than reality. This is where the moral inversion begins. What you were taught to admire, openness, transparency, constant expression, is structurally aligned with being managed. What you were taught to distrust, reserve, opacity, emotional restraint, is structurally aligned with autonomy. The system praises the former because it can be monitored. It distrusts the latter because it cannot. Silence is the refusal to be indexed. By saying less, you are not withdrawing from the game. You are stepping out of the line of fire. You are denying others the ability to triangulate you. You are slowing the tempo while everyone else accelerates into mistakes. Silence changes the geometry of power. Others react, you select. This chapter is not about becoming mute. It is about reclaiming silence from the lie that it is weakness. Silence is a lens. Once you see it correctly, you can no longer unsee how often noise is used to expose, exhaust, and domesticate. From here forward, silence is no longer moral. It is tactical.
Silence works because the human mind is addicted to closure. It cannot tolerate unanswered signals. When you withhold information, the other side begins to supply it for you, poorly. This is the core mechanism. Silence does not dominate by force. It dominates by forcing projection. Every interaction is an exchange of data. Words are not neutral. They are disclosures. Tone reveals confidence or doubt. Timing reveals urgency or need. Explanation reveals insecurity. When you speak, you collapse uncertainty. When you stay silent, you expand it. And in competitive environments, uncertainty is leverage. The loud man believes control comes from expression. He explains his position, clarifies his intent, defends his choices. He thinks clarity builds trust. What he fails to understand is that clarity also builds a targeting profile. Once others know what you want, what you fear, and what you value, they can move you. Silence blocks this extraction. Quiet power operates on three psychological mechanics: information asymmetry, tempo control, and emotional displacement. Information asymmetry is the foundation. When you know more than you reveal, you can predict outcomes while remaining unpredictable yourself. Silence widens this gap. You observe reactions without committing. You listen for inconsistencies. You let others show you their hand while yours stays face down. In any hierarchy, corporate, social, political, the individual with the least exposure and the most data has the advantage. Tempo control is the second mechanism. Speech accelerates interaction. Silence slows. Whoever controls the tempo controls the frame. By not responding immediately, you deny others emotional momentum. You force delays. Delays create discomfort. Discomfort creates mistakes. People reveal more when they feel ignored than when they feel challenged. Silence weaponizes patience against impulse. The third mechanism is emotional displacement. When you do not react, the emotional burden shifts to the other side. They begin to wonder what you think. They replay their own words. They imagine consequences. Your silence becomes a mirror in which they confront themselves. This is why silence feels intimidating to insecure people. It offers no reassurance. Most men are trained to resolve tension verbally, to explain, to justify, to smooth things over. This training makes them predictable and manipulable. Quiet power reverses this conditioning. It treats tension as useful. It allows pressure to build. Pressure exposes structure. Weak structures crack. Notice who demands explanations from you. Notice who is uncomfortable when you don't perform socially. These are not neutral reactions. They signal a loss of control. Silence denies others feedback loops they rely on to steer behavior. Without feedback, they guess. Guessing weakens position. Silence also disrupts social hierarchies built on visibility. Modern dominance is often theatrical, status performed through constant presence and commentary. Silence opts out of this economy. It refuses to compete on volume. Instead, it competes on consequence. When you speak rarely but decisively, words gain weight. When you speak constantly, they inflate and lose value. This is why powerful figures are often described as measured. Measurement implies restraint, calculation, and selectivity. Silence is the space where calculation happens. It is where strategy replaces reaction. Do not confuse this with timidity. Quiet power is not hiding, it is withholding. Hiding is fear-driven. Withholding is choice-driven. One collapses under pressure, the other applies it. Once you understand these mechanics, you see why silence unnerves people. It removes their ability to read you, pace you, and soothe themselves through your responses. It places you inside uncertainty, while you remain outside it. Silence, properly used, is not absence, it is dominance without display.
Every system produces two dominant behavioral types. One is encouraged, visible, and praised. The other is tolerated, underestimated, and quietly decisive. Understanding the difference between them is not optional. It determines whether you are managed or sovereign. The loud man is optimized for approval. He speaks early, reacts fast, and explains often. His identity is public-facing. He believes presence equals power, that being heard is the same as being respected. He confuses attention with influence. Systems reward him with visibility, because visibility makes him predictable. The silent operator is optimized for outcome. He speaks late, reacts selectively, and explains rarely. His identity is compartmentalized. He does not seek to be understood, he seeks to be effective. While the loud man competes for space, the silent operator controls positioning. The loud man performs values. He signals loyalty, morality, and alignment. This makes him safe to use. When values are visible, they can be leveraged. Appeal to his identity, threaten his image, or praise his virtue. He moves. His behavior is externally steerable. The silent operator does not advertise values. He tests environments instead of declaring beliefs. This makes him dangerous. You cannot predict what he will sacrifice or protect. You cannot appeal to a code you cannot see. His behavior must be inferred from outcomes, not words. Watch how each handles conflict. The loud man escalates verbally. He argues, clarifies, defends. He believes winning the exchange is winning the situation. The silent operator allows others to exhaust themselves. He does not rush to dominate the conversation. He waits for leverage to present itself. Often, the other side defeats itself through overexposure. Watch how each handles praise. The loud man absorbs it publicly. It reinforces his performance loop. He becomes dependent on reinforcement. The silent operator deflects or ignores it. Praise does not change his tempo. This makes him harder to manipulate. You cannot reward what you cannot hook. Watch how each handles accusation. The loud man rushes to correct the record. Silence feels like guilt to him. The silent operator understands that premature defense legitimizes the attack. He lets accusations hang until they lose oxygen. Noise keeps allegations alive. Silence lets them decay. These are not personality traits. They are survival strategies. Modern environments are designed to amplify the loud man because he generates data, engagement, and compliance. He fills feeds, meetings, and rooms. He leaves trails. Trails are how power maps territory. The silent operator leaves none. This is why silence is misinterpreted as weakness. It does not compete in the visible hierarchy. It competes in the hidden one. The loud man rises quickly and falls publicly. The silent operator moves slowly and consolidates quietly. When outcomes are revealed, they appear sudden. In reality, they were prepared in silence. The loud man is chosen as a representative. The silent operator becomes a decision-maker. Most men are pushed toward loudness early. School rewards participation. Work rewards communication. Social structures reward expression. Silence is framed as deficiency. What is never taught is that these rewards come with surveillance. To be visible is to be measurable. To be measurable is to be manageable. The silent operator accepts fewer rewards up front. In exchange, he retains autonomy. He is harder to categorize, harder to corner, harder to replace. Systems struggle with what they cannot summarize. This chapter forces a choice, not a moral one, a structural one. You cannot be both archetypes at once. One trades freedom for affirmation. The other trades affirmation for leverage. Most will choose the former because it feels safer. A few will recognize that safety is a short-term illusion.
Silence is not the absence of participation. It is participation on terms others cannot access. History is not shaped by those who speak the most. It is shaped by those who wait the longest. The public record is loud, filled with speeches, manifestos, declarations, and performances. This noise creates the illusion that events are driven by rhetoric. In reality, rhetoric is the exhaust. Decisions are made elsewhere, earlier, and quietly. By the time words appear, power has already shifted. The mistake most men make is studying what was said instead of studying what was not said. In every era, the visible actors absorb attention, while the invisible ones arrange outcomes. Kings held court, advisors held maps, generals gave speeches, logisticians decided wars, revolutions shouted slogans, bankers decided who could sustain them. Silence is not romantic, it is functional. It is how influence avoids resistance. Human nature explains why this works. People are drawn to certainty and performance. Loud figures give emotional anchors, heroes, villains, causes. While attention is captured, structure is reorganized underneath. Silence allows movement without friction. It avoids triggering defense mechanisms. The loud provoke opposition. The quiet bypass it. Predators understand this instinctively. The most dangerous hunter is not the one that charges. It is the one that disappears into terrain, adjusts position, and strikes where expectation collapses. Noise warns, silence misleads. In nature, sound is a liability. In human systems, it is no different, only disguised as confidence. Look closely at how real power behaves under threat. It does not explain itself to crowds. It restricts information. It delays responses. It lets uncertainty spread. Uncertainty fractures coordination. When people don't know what is happening, they turn inward, compete, and self-sabotage. Silence does the work without lifting a hand. This is why silence is unsettling. It removes narrative. Humans rely on stories to orient themselves. Silence offers none. It forces others to confront a void where reassurance should be. In that void, fear grows. Fear leads to overreaction. Overreaction reveals weakness. History rewards those who let others move first and fail publicly. The loud are selected for visibility because they are useful shields. They absorb blame, attention, and attack. When something collapses, they are the ones remembered. The quiet remain intact. This is not cowardice, it is structural intelligence. Exposure is a cost. Silence minimizes it. Even morality follows this pattern. Public virtue is loud because it needs witnesses. Private advantage is quiet because it needs protection. Those who announce righteousness invite scrutiny. Those who act silently avoid it. Over time, scrutiny destroys more empires than enemies ever could. The uncomfortable truth is this: most catastrophic failures were preceded by excessive talking, warnings ignored because they were public, plans leaked because they were discussed, authority weakened because it tried to justify itself. Silence would have preserved leverage. This chapter is not about idolizing secrecy. It is about recognizing selection pressure. Over generations, those who survived learned when not to speak. That knowledge was not written down, it was embodied, passed quietly. History belongs to the quiet because noise burns out, silence endures.
Once you understand silence as power, the danger shifts. The threat is no longer external, it is misuse. Silence without structure becomes isolation. Silence without timing becomes irrelevance. This chapter is about discipline, when to disappear, when to surface, and how to control visibility without surrendering leverage. The first principle is withdrawal. Strategic withdrawal is not retreat, it is repositioning. You step back not because you are overwhelmed, but because you refuse to be drained by constant engagement. Every interaction has a cost. Most men spend themselves answering questions that should never have been asked, defending positions that did not require defense, reacting to provocations designed to expose them. Withdrawal cuts this off. When you withdraw, you remove access. Access is power's favorite entry point. If others cannot reach you easily, they cannot pace you emotionally. They cannot harvest reactions. They cannot force urgency. You decide the terms of re-entry. This alone shifts the balance. The second principle is controlled visibility. Total invisibility is not power, it is abdication. Power requires presence, but only at decisive moments. The mistake is constant presence. When you are always available, you are always consumable. When you appear rarely, attention concentrates. Your words land harder. Your absence creates speculation. Speculation multiplies influence. Controlled visibility means you speak only when it changes the board, not to clarify, not to reassure, not to soothe, but to decide. This trains others to listen differently. They stop expecting commentary and start waiting for verdicts. Silence establishes baseline authority. Speech punctuates it. The third principle is selective disclosure. You never reveal intent at the same time you reveal capability. One follows the other, never both. When people know what you can do, but not what you plan, they hesitate. When they know what you plan, but not what you can do, they miscalculate. Silence preserves this imbalance. Most men overshare to build trust. This is a misunderstanding of trust. Trust is not built through confession, it is built through consistency of outcome. Say less, deliver more. Let results speak where words would cheapen impact. You must also learn to tolerate misinterpretation. Silence invites it. Some will project weakness, others will project arrogance. Let them. Correcting perception is expensive and often unnecessary. Misinterpretation becomes a filter. It reveals who is impatient, who is insecure, who requires reassurance to function. These people are liabilities, not allies. Strategic silence also requires emotional containment. If you cannot control your need to react, silence will collapse under pressure. Provocation is designed to extract response. Refusing it denies others satisfaction and data. The more pressure applied, the more valuable silence becomes. This chapter installs a behavioral shift. You stop living inside the reaction cycle. You no longer answer immediately. You no longer explain reflexively. You let time work for you. Time favors the composed. Silence is not a vow, it is a switch. You turn it on and off with intent. Mastery is knowing when the blade stays sheathed and when it ends the conversation. The final cost of silence is not social, it is psychological. To use silence as a weapon, an old identity must die. The identity that seeks recognition, the identity that needs to be understood, the identity that equates visibility with existence. This identity was not chosen, it was installed, and it cannot survive in environments where power is real. Most men are built around expression. From early conditioning, you were taught that your thoughts have value only when shared, that your feelings require acknowledgement, that silence equals invisibility. This creates a fragile self, one dependent on response. Remove the response and the self collapses. That collapse is necessary. Silence strips you of performative identity. There is no audience to validate you, no feedback loop to reassure you. What remains is uncomfortable, intention without applause, direction without witnesses. This is where most retreat. They return to noise because noise feels like proof of existence. The replacement identity is colder, narrower, more durable.
This identity does not ask to be seen. It does not explain itself. It measures itself by position and outcome, not by reaction. It accepts misunderstanding as the price of autonomy. Where the old identity sought alignment, the new one seeks leverage. Identity death begins when you stop narrating your life. No more announcing plans, no more defending choices, no more seeking agreement. You act and let consequences speak. This feels like erasure at first. In reality, it is condensation. You are removing excess until only what functions remains. This new identity understands a brutal truth. Visibility is rented, not owned. The moment you depend on it, it controls you. Silence severs that dependency. You become internally referenced. Decisions are no longer filtered through how they will appear, but what they will secure. With this shift comes isolation, not loneliness, separation. Fewer people have access to you. Fewer opinions reach you. This is not loss, it is filtration. Power requires fewer inputs, not more. The silent identity also abandons moral exhibitionism. It does not need to be seen as good, fair, or virtuous. It understands that morality is often retrospective, assigned to winners after outcomes are decided. This does not mean abandoning ethics, it means refusing to perform them. At this stage, silence is no longer a tactic, it is a baseline. Speech becomes rare and surgical. When you speak, it is final. When you move, it is already too late for interference. This is the replacement, a man who does not need to be witnessed to exist, who does not leak intention, who does not trade autonomy for comfort. He is not loud, he is not visible, but he is positioned. Most will never reach this point because the cost feels too high. It requires killing a self that was shaped to survive socially, not strategically. Silence demands a different survival. The question is not whether you can be quiet, it is whether you can let the old version of you die without trying to explain the death.
This is where the separation becomes permanent. Silence is not for everyone. It is not even for most. Most men are structurally dependent on noise, on feedback, on recognition, on being reacted to. Take that away, and they disintegrate. They return to speaking not because they choose to, but because they cannot survive without witnesses. This is the final warning. If you continue to explain yourself, you will be managed. If you continue to announce intentions, you will be intercepted. If you continue to seek agreement, you will be diluted. The world does not reward truth-tellers. It rewards position holders. Truth spoken too early is not courage, it is exposure. Exposure invites correction, control, and containment. Silence avoids all three. The unquiet man believes expression is liberation. He mistakes release for power. He vents, posts, argues, and confesses, thinking he is asserting himself. In reality, he is emptying himself into systems designed to absorb and redirect him. Every word becomes data. Every emotion becomes leverage against him. You must understand this without comfort. The loud are not listened to, they are monitored. Silence is the final filter. It selects for those who can endure ambiguity, isolation, and delayed gratification. Those who cannot will self-identify quickly. They will mock restraint. They will call it fear, weakness, or arrogance. Let them. Labels are tools used by the exposed to pressure the concealed. If you have followed this far, there is no return to innocence. You now know that most social rules are not moral, they are managerial. Breaking them quietly is how autonomy is preserved.
This is not a call to withdraw from the world. It is a call to stop performing for it. Speak when it ends discussions, not when it starts them. Appear when it changes outcomes, not when it fills space. Be known by consequence, not commentary. The hierarchy is simple and unforgiving. Those who talk are consumed. Those who watch are positioned. Those who act in silence decide. Choose accordingly.